Yo, what is up everybody? It's your boy Games Trials of Manual 2025 here. As you can see, I am back. Well, partially back because I'm still going on with this 1 month break thing off of social media. Just wanted to let you guys know that, I'm still alive. I'm still here. Don't worry, I'm not quitting YouTube. Just been taking care of myself, alright? But the video is not going to be about that, okay? It's going to be about, let's see. Well, it's going to be about another lecture. So it seems like, unfortunately, there's been a lot of confusion about what the word empathy really means, okay? So what's the definition of empathy? Empathy is when you feel sorry for the person and you really want to cheer them up and give them motivation because you care about them so much. Yeah, that's what the word empathy really means. But there's a problem. Not a whole lot of people, unfortunately, some of you guys in my community, you guys probably just don't really know the true definition of empathy, okay? And well, look, like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything. I'm just being honest that there has been a lot of confusion with this word, and it's unfortunately leading to selfish and brag. Maybe a little bit of a narcissism too. Just a little bit. But that is why I'm here to make this lecture video for this purpose of the video. Okay? Alright. So, do you guys remember when I made that autism awareness video, right? I made that back in April 2nd this year, when we were still dealing with a whole bunch of crap on the internet earlier this year. So I made that video. In that video, I said that I wasn't able to drive because my autism, I used to think that my autism, it affects my ability to drive. And and I even said that I don't think I wouldn't be able to drive as well. Right? So I said that in my video. I felt sad after making that video. And so then I even started out like, letting you guys know that, my autism takes my advantage to be able to drive. And well, I realized that some of you guys already drive. And that's good for you, honestly, because I know that some of you guys have autism. And I guess you really got the hang of driving. So, now here's the thing. So, now that you guys told me about that, look, I don't want to sound like a complete butthead right now, but some of you guys really lacked empathy, honestly. I hate to say this, but I'm sorry, but you really did. You want to know what happens when you don't really show real empathy? Yeah, it makes you selfish. It makes you be a jerk. It makes you have a bit of narcissism. And number 4, can't think of that word, you only care about yourself. Well, That's pretty much the same thing as narcissism, but yeah, that. And also bragging as well. So, I remember when you guys were telling me that, that you guys know how to drive. You guys were telling me, oh, I feel sorry for you, but I can drive. It's pretty fun. And I don't even have to rely on my parents anymore. Hooray! You see that? That's an example that you don't even show empathy to the person that's doubting themselves. And you're only making them feel more down when you don't even show your motivation towards the person that's doubting themselves. You see what I mean? Yeah. So I was in that situation with those that specifically drive already. Okay? With those of you that are my friends and that know how to drive and that have autism, you guys honestly lacked your empathy towards me. And you know what that got me to? I took it personally. I really did. No joke. And you know what happened after that? I felt jealous and envious of you. Because the fact that you never showed empathy to me is the fact that doesn't make you a good person. You're only caring about yourself. You're only focusing on yourself, and you're only what's the third one? Yeah, you're not showing empathy towards the person that's doubting themselves. So that's why I said the definition of empathy in the beginning. I'll probably have to explain it again. The definition of empathy is when you feel sorry for the person, you want to cheer them up, and you really want to motivate them because you care about them. That's the real definition of empathy. Okay? And so it's one thing to know, and it's one thing to say that, ladies and gentlemen, I passed my behind the wheel test just yesterday. October 3rd, 2025. So now I'm going to get to the point to how I got to this day, okay? So 2 years ago, I was practicing parking the car in an empty parking lot for about maybe a year and a half or so. I did had a bit of an accident when doing that, because I remember I used my cousin's car and I accidentally drove over the curb and then it went over. Yeah, that was my fault because I got so nervous. And then after that, I didn't even want it to drive anymore because I felt that it was going to happen again. But then later on, as in 2024, it didn't happen again. Or I should say, the next time that I took the car to go parking up, it didn't happen. It never happened again, and thinking that now it's going to give me the confidence. Okay? So, before that, I was also watching my Road Trip Joyrides videos. You guys know that series, right? The Road Trip Joyrides with Emmanuel series. Yeah, I've been doing those videos for 4 years now. And I used to watch those videos every single day. I used to watch those videos every single night. And I still do it till this day. Okay? For 5 years, I've been doing that. the same thing in order to get me to this day that I was ready to drive. And so now we move on to this year, 2025. On May 23rd, 2025, I took my permit test. What were the results on that? I passed. First try. Because I worked my butt off to study that whole week. The whole week when I took the permit test. I passed that first try. And a lot of people were saying to me that it was going to be a lot harder than the behind the wheel tests. Honestly, that crap was easy. Why? Because I've always learned about the signs and traffic lights and the way you park your car or truck, whatever. And I also always knew about, like, the readings on the road, you know, the double-sided yellow line and the divided line that's been broken up. I've always understood the road rules, okay? Growing up. And I'm talking about maybe like ever since I was a kid. Because ever since I was a kid, I've always loved traveling in the car. And I've always paid attention to how my parents drive and how everyone else drives. I was not always on my phone, you know, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram during my road trips. I never did any of that. Instead, I'd always pay attention to what my parents do, and I'd always pay attention to what other drivers do. As long as they're, you know, doing things right, I always paid attention about the good and bad side about driving. You know, good drivers and bad drivers. And so, you know, I passed that test first try, my permit test. Okay? And so, yeah. Now after that, May 24th, all the way to October 2nd. October 2nd. I practiced. Every day that I would go to work or I would go to college, I practiced every single time we get in the car. Okay? And there were times where I didn't even want it to drive. But you know what I told myself? I want to pass this test. And I want to drive all the way across the United States one day. And I want to be able to drive anywhere where I would like. That's what I kept telling myself. On those days that I didn't even want it to drive. I pushed myself through. Okay? I pushed myself through in order to practice hard. Work hard on my parking. Work hard on changing lanes. I was always cautious when there are pedestrians around or when there are bad drivers around me. Like, I've always paid attention to them because I knew how to mirror check. I did struggle a bit with blind spot checking. But after that, I got the hang of it. And also, it was not just that. I also told myself that I wanted to drive on the freeway for the first time. So my mom was my passenger in the front with me, and she was training me to you know, learn all my road rules and, you know, how to drive and stuff, along with my cousin, who I really thank so much. So I told my mom this. Mom, should we drive on the freeway this time? And she was like, go ahead, do it. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. And so this was also like when I started in college, by the way. This was back in August. Around the last week of August, you guys are not going to believe it, but I taught myself to drive on the freeway. I'm not even joking. No, it was not my cousin who told me. No, it was not my parents who told me to drive on the freeway. I taught myself. I taught myself to drive on that freeway. Why? Because of this. Every single day, I'd be watching a Road Trip Joyride series to get the confidence of driving on the highway. And look where that got me. I'm not really scared to drive on the freeway anymore. I actually find it fun. And so, for some of those that can't drive on the freeway, bro, like, look, you guys can do it. Just don't get nervous. You don't have to drive at the same speed as them. At least stay in the slow lane. That's how I did mine, okay? That's how I did mine. Driving on the freeway was pretty easy for me after all. And to be honest, I was never even nervous to even get on it. I was not. Excuse me. I was never nervous to drive on the freeway because I knew it had good benefits. Not only the freeway, but also taught myself to drive through the roundabouts. Now, I did need a bit of help on that. I still kind of do. I still kind of do need help on driving on the roundabouts because those can be a little hectic sometimes, especially the ones here in California. You know, I'm trying to understand it, how to enter it and stuff, how to yield. But I was the one who wanted to teach myself to drive through the roundabout. However, on the freeway though, I didn't even need help at all because I knew how to mirror check and blind spot check. And knew how to drive at the near speed of the traffic. And so, you know, now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now the present moment. Yesterday, I took my behind the wheel test, okay? I took my behind the wheel test. I was so freaking excited to pass that test because it was the fact that, you know, I literally worked so hard to get to this day and to, you know, be prepared for the drive test and to prepare myself to know all the controls of the car. And just like that, yesterday, I passed my driving test. First try. First try on the permit test. 4 months of driving and practicing with no driving school. Taught myself to drive on the freeway. I didn't let anybody else, you know, to show me how to drive on the freeway. I taught myself, and I taught myself how to drive through the roundabout, which I get that, you know, sometimes it can be scary. Or yeah, even highways can be scary sometimes, even though they're not scary for me at all. But if you're scared of the freeway, look, you got this. Anyways. And well, yeah, like I said, every single day I'd be sitting right here on this, watching this TV right here. Road trip joyrides every single day and every single night. Because I want to thank my parents for letting me record all those road trip joyride series for you guys and for myself. That proving that, you know, it's easy to drive. Just be careful. Be careful for pedestrians, be careful for drivers that are behind you, and be careful for being rear-ended, and etc. That's why you check your mirrors and blind spots. Now, even though it might have not seemed that my road trip joyride series might have not helped me for driving. Well, at least, you know, I get to read all the signs and I get to read all the street names and I get to know all of the street names. And all that really all sums up that I passed my driving test the first try. No driving school. And it's the fact that I'm autistic. So what does this mean, ladies and gentlemen? You can do this. You don't have to take driving school even if you're autistic or have some type of developmental disability. You guys can do this without driving school. Just keep asking. If your parents can't teach you to drive, at least like keep going until you ran out of options on who cannot teach you how to drive. At least do that. And this message is for those of you that are interested in driving. You don't have to take driving school, despite your developmental disability. Okay, fine. If there's nobody absolutely in the world that can't teach you to drive, okay, fine, you can take driving school. But just listen to me. If your parents don't have the time for you to teach you how to drive, keep going until you find someone to teach you how to drive. Cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, even. Best friends. Siblings. Because for me, I want to thank my parents and my cousin for teaching me to get to this point. To get to this point that I now drive, and that, you know, I'm going to be saving up for my car. Well, I usually call it, you know, my rust bucket, but yeah, now I'm going to be saving up for a car. And well, you know, I can now follow my dreams to drive anywhere in the world. Seriously though, because honestly, relying on people really sucked. It really did. Not that I say it's like a bad thing for like most of you, but it was a bad thing for me because I was the one who would always loved going anywhere in the world. Whether it's the museum, whether it's the beach, whether it's the lake, whether it's a hiking area. I got this, honestly. I got this. All the hate, all the lack of empathy from you guys that, you know, that drive and that are my best friends. Look, it was all worth it. I appreciate you all like bragging to me about that you can do anything that you want. And that, you know, and that you bragged to me that you have your own car and that, you know, all that. I seriously appreciate it because it would have been easy for me to be like, Oh yeah? Well then just watch me pass this test without driving school. And I never said any of that because I wanted to surprise you all that I did all these sacrifices for 4 months driving with no driving school. And I saved at least a few $1,000s for that. Because I know that driving school is expensive. And not everyone could afford it. And I feel sorry for them because, well, it's just why you really need to, like, you know, keep going, find the person that can teach you how to drive, and if there's no other options, then driving school is the option. Okay? Because in reality, I saved a few $1,000s to buy my rust bucket one day. My car. My real life size Hot Wheel. And so another thing why it was so easy for me to pass this test is because I'm into cars and I'm into traveling. I love cars so much. Why the hell do you think I love Hot Wheels so much? It's because I love cars, man. Cars are my life. Now I get to drive any car I want, even in whether it's exotics, American Muscle, JDM. Like, almost anything. As long as it's a Class C commercial vehicle. Or Class C vehicle, I mean, sorry. But yeah, like, all that I am now able to do and follow my dreams. Because one day, I dreamed to drive all the way to New York from California. 2,000 miles. And I hope to make that happen. Because, honestly, that would be such an amazing drive. And for me to, like, live stream. And speaking of that, now I get to make my drive video. I get to make my road trip drive rides videos, you know, on my own now. I don't have to have my parents drive me. And, you know, I don't have to ask them permission to record either. I now have it all to myself. But of course, you know, I have a promise to be a safe, good driver. You know, because obviously you do not want to get a ticket. It sucks. Trust me. So yeah, man, like, it's one thing to know, it's one thing to, like, get all the hate and all the brags from you guys, and, like, you know, I just appreciate all the hate comments that you guys, you know, said to me, because selfish comments and selfish comments, and as well as comments that you only care about yourself, like, you know, that does actually count as hate comments a bit, because, you know, you're not even showing the person that you even care for them. You're only caring about yourself. And so, yeah, like, you know, I'm the type of person who was just never like that, because I work, okay? I go at my job. Everyone has a developmental disability. My group, okay? They all have developmental disabilities. But I even used to be an a-hole to them. I'm not even joking. Well, inside my head I was. Inside of my head I was, okay? Like, but then, you know, as, like, I was getting to know to drive, I started telling them, hey, if I can drive, then you can drive, and you can do it. Like, just be a good driver. Like, it just takes practice. You don't need to take driving school. And so yeah, like I gave him my empathy. I was not like you guys who lacked your empathy towards me, because I'm the one who really knows how to show real empathy towards my coworkers. Because I was telling them, you guys can do this. And they're all older than me. They're way older than me. I don't know, like 10 years older than me? Something like that? I'm telling you guys, it's one thing to know. You guys can do this as well. Like, don't lack your empathy. If you want to be a good person, act like it. Okay? Alright, so now it brings me to the conclusion. Once again, I just would like to thank my parents, my cousin, and my whole family who supported me throughout all this driving practice that I've done. Like, dude, it really makes me feel appreciated and to feel accepted for my autism. Because, like I said, I used to doubt myself back then that I couldn't drive. And look where that got me. I now have a license. Well, I don't have it yet. It's coming in like 2 to 4 weeks. But the fact that I passed this driving test with no driving school, and it was only a short period of time, bro, is just the fact that I feel proud of myself. And I feel so proud for my family for supporting me. And well, I never really wanted to like bring up about driving topic on my channel just because, I didn't want it like others to feel down about themselves that, they couldn't drive and stuff. But again, like, I get it though. Driving may not be for you, but for some people it is. Everyone has their ups and downs. And that's what people need to understand. Okay? That's what you guys have to understand. Specifically for those of you best friends that know how to drive already. You guys have to understand that. Driving may not be necessary for everybody. Some people just prefer to rely on transportation. Subway, bus, whatever. Alright? Alright, everybody, well, that's gonna be the end of this video and this lecture. I hope you guys, for those of you, that lacked your empathy towards me, at least apologize, I know that this is a while back that this happened, but, but I know that you guys have improved, okay? Like I said, you guys are so smart. I'm not really trying to make you guys feel bad about yourself because I know that you guys have improved. I get it. Life is hard. But honestly, your life will feel a lot better once you show your empathy towards others. Trust me. You'll have a special heart inside you. Okay? Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, it's good to see you guys back. It's good to see that you guys are doing good. And, I'm glad that you guys get to watch this video to, just to check how I'm doing and stuff, and yeah. Man, dude. It was all worth it for what I've been through this whole year, though. We did it. We passed the test. And I get to follow my dreams. Alright, everybody. Peace out.